Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the podcast. This week, I was given the one opportunity to be able to talk to Kallum with a K, who is a growth specialist. And funnily enough, we talked about growing, we talked about business coaching, we talked about marketing, and we also talked about networking as well and how to get the most out of all of those things. So I'm now going to hand over to Kallum to explain a little bit more about what he does and how he does it. And I hope to value from this conversation. And I'll see you in just a moment.
Hello, so I'm Kallum from Quack Academy, the unconventional growth strategist that puts a foot up your backside and wears you like slippers. 26, 5'8", East Yorkshire, very unconventional. Everything that apparently is wrong with business, but I make it right. I think that sums me up in a pretty much of a nutshell.
Fantastic. I have to ask you before we get into the podcast, I mean, thank you for the time firstly, but how did you come up with your strapline? Because it's something that's so unique and so many people have straplines and they're like, how do I come up with it? Or, you know, the quote unquote whiplash effect, which, you know, one's been discussed for a while as well. But how did you kind of come up with it? What's the story behind that?
I literally just said it one day. I just said it one day. I remember that I was in a networking meeting and I was like, oh, you know, I need to show my personality. And I must have heard it or something similar somewhere. I must have heard something similar somewhere. And I just came out with one day, oh, so I'm the unconventional business coach because I was a business coach then. That puts a foot up your ass and wears you like slippers. Everyone was in hysterics. But then the people that I knew wouldn't like it, didn't like it. But I was like, that's fine. I don't want to work with you. And I said it for about a week. And then just this week, like on a weekend, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, I don't know if I should be saying that. So the Monday came and I went into another networking meeting and I didn't say it. And the person leading the meeting went, whoa, right. Where's this like strap line gone? I went, why? It was like, because it's you. And like four other people like, oh my God, I was waiting for you to say it because it was so new for me saying it. I was like, oh, I went, well, blah, blah, blah. And I said it, you know, the unconventional business coach puts a foot up your backside and wears you like slippers. And it's just stuck. And it's because I went, that sums you up. It sums you up as a person, sums you up as a nutshell, sums up my approach. Like some of the people that wanted me to repeat it are clients or were clients at the time. You know, they was like, it sums up how you are as a coach, what you help us with, your approach to it, everything. It is just you. So yeah, just came out of it one day.
Fantastic. I mean, I think it shows a lot about, you know, what I think a lot of this podcast is going to be about firstly, like, you know, one of the things I wanted to ask you is when should one engage a coach, right? Because it's a common question that I see a lot in marketing, which is like, when do I need to outsource my marketing, or when do I need to do my marketing, or when do I need to know how to grow, right? And I know you're a growth strategist, so it would make sense to ask you that. But I think initially what I was hearing there was actually you're doing something which is really valuable to the audience, which is the first rule of marketing is to understand that you don't need to market or shouldn't market to everyone. Right? Because by the fact you have a personality, some people shy away from that, especially when we look at content creation. They're like, why would I be my personality? I've got to sell what I do. But what sometimes people misunderstand is you can have the conversation and come across really well with yourself and sell exactly what you do by being you, but you are going to alienate some people by doing that. But actually, would you enjoy working with those people anyway? Probably not, to be honest. So, I mean, to initiate the conversation a little bit more. So, I mean, when would you say a business should look at hiring someone like yourself to go about some coaching and going about some, like, you know, some real growth strategy? I mean, are we looking at like really bottom line, I've got an idea, I want to try and take it somewhere, or, you know, maybe, because there could be so many different elements, isn't there? Right?
Yeah, no, you're completely right. One of the things when you're starting out, you know, it's just a bit of a blurred line for a lot of people, is the difference between a mentor and a coach. Very different. You know, it's look at, you know, a coach, I always explain, is when you're learning to play football or rugby, you've got someone stood at the side and they're telling you the best game plan. But actually that's not maybe the way the game plan's done, and, you know, it takes input and all that kind of thing. That's a coach. You know, but first you've got to learn how to play football. I don't know why I'm using football as a reference. I can't stand football. I don't watch it at all, but it is a really good reference for it. And it's, you know, that's great. He's telling you how to play the game, but how do you play football? You know, he's telling you the best strategy for the game, but that's great. How do I kick it? What's the best way? Where am I aiming for? And you need a mentor first. And this is the bit I personally needed to learn as well. I learned it pretty much the hard way. You know, not everything was great. It wasn't all sunshines and daisy when I first started out. So as a mentor first, A coach, you need, if you know you get maybe distracted, or maybe you've got some good, there's lots of different reasons for a coach, but just one example is, you've got a lot of good things going on at the moment. You want to keep on that. You want to make sure you keep kind of maybe your blinkers on a little bit, and you just want to keep on that path where you've got things going great, to get you there, instead of going, oh, this is going great, now I can try X, Y, and Z. Actually, let's stick with A. Let's just keep going a bit more. And that's a really good way for a coach to come in. A growth strategist is when you've kept them blinkers on, you've got to where you wanted to go, you've kept on that real good path, and now it's what's next. What's next? What's that next level up from where I am? And I always say, make sure you've got your foundations, make sure you've got good client retention rate, or you've got money coming in. First rule of business, make money. First rule of business. It's not marketing, it's not your branding, it's not your copy, it's not your website. First rule of business is make money. People go, oh, but what about, having entrepreneurial spirit and being passionate? They're personality traits. I know people that have got all of them that are making no money. First rule of business is make money. And, that's the bit you need to make sure you're doing first before you grow. Because it's all right, you're going, oh, I've got this, I'm making a loss every month, but I'm ready to grow. Well, you're not, because you've got nothing to grow with. That's like trying to water a plant that's already got root rot. You need to fix that first. Then it can grow properly.
Yeah, and I think it's, a lot of the time we talk about in what we do and through marketing and etc. is about building a foundation, but sometimes one forgets the fundamentals, which is making sure you're in profit, right? Like, yeah, it's an obvious thing to think about, but it's sometimes harder said than done, right? And sometimes, especially at the moment, you have to make difficult decisions, especially if you've come from a growing company and you've maybe taken some risks with your finances for the sake of growing the company, which there's, we can go into as well, but there's pros and cons to both sides of that. But also you need to understand when you're quote unquote in trouble and when you need to start taking your foot off the gas sometimes to allow yourself to gain the stability again. Now, that isn't the same as like pulling everything that you're doing with marketing, for example, because I think that's unhealthy as well. Because I think what will then happen is you're just being silent to your market and you're not communicating, which will actually have a negative effect on your business, because then no one realizes you're still active or still open to work and etc. Which, to an extent, it's this balancing act that you have to have. But at the end of the day, as a business owner and with an entrepreneurial spirit, you need to develop that and learn from your mistakes and own those mistakes, right? Like, if you've overpushed, I'll be honest, we've just come out of this situation where I've been like, actually, things were going really, really well. Then some things happened in the world that made it be less of a buyer's market. And I had already kind of like potentially overcommitted a little bit too much. And I was like, oh, okay, hold on, we might be in some trouble here if I keep on this trajectory. So I pulled back, right? But actually it's made me become more humble and more, I would argue, a better leader, because I'm able to pull back and I'm able to understand and predict a little bit more of someone or where we're going to be if I continue on this trajectory. I mean, how would you say people should actually, because I think there's a comfort barrier, right, between spending money on the business, right? So let's say I'm making good profit, I've been doing that for 3 months, for 5 months, but we're kind of plateauing in the respect to the kind of work we're doing. How does people kind of build the mindset of actually because in most cases you need to spend money to make money, right?
Yeah, no, completely. So there's lots of different avenues that could go down this, but one of the things I've said to people in, product-based businesses should go down, for example, is they've got 2 products, for example. One's doing really bad, one's doing really good. But the mistake they make is they put more marketing onto the one doing bad because they want it to do good. They want it to do well. And then, it takes, and not even me, not even a growth strategist, not even a coach, not even a mentor, it just takes someone to go, why? And they go, what do you mean? Oh, well, put all this money into creating this and ironing it out, and all the money we put into the marketing already. Like, it's like a waste of time if we don't make it work. No, it's a waste of time trying to make it work. That's a waste of time. Stop looking at ROI, your return on investment. Start looking at ROT, return on time. Is it return on your time of what you're doing on this already? And that's a lot of things people don't do. And I say, stop spending your money on that because it's not working. I'm not saying don't, get rid of it. Stop throwing more money at it. Technically, don't flog a dead horse. If it really isn't working, get rid of it. Put the money you then put it on the thing isn't working onto the thing that's naturally working from what you're doing. If you put more money into that, what's the only thing it's going to do? Get bigger, get better, bring more money in. Like you're saying, it's that complete focus of just where you go. Once again, going to that blinkers moment, and when people start going, oh, I'm doing great, let me do X, Y, and Z. No, you've got this thing. And not a lot of the time, I'm not just meaning one thing. You can have lots of things doing great, but then don't bring in loads more new things because it just ain't going to go anywhere. And it really does come down to that, and mindset and watching it. And one of the things based on marketing, so obviously is with what you do, I say to people, set a quarterly marketing budget. It doesn't mean you can't go over it. Doesn't mean you have to spend it all. Set a monthly, set a weekly marketing budget. Set on, in particular in this, do it the same with anything, your general expense. If you're paying for lots of different subscriptions for software and, I bet a bit like you, I might pay for like StreamYard and so on and so on. Not sponsored, but I might do things like that. But once again, if you're about to take out another subscription, that's another expense. Is that in your budget that month? And I learned this the hard way. Like, I'm crap with money. I'm crap with expenses. I'm crap with cash flow. So guess what I did? I brought someone in, or started working with someone that isn't. They're normally called an accountant. Like, it's one of them. Or there's someone that's good at finances, another business owner. How do you manage it? I know one guy, and he on his spreadsheets, and spreadsheets can really scare people, but he changes one thing on one of them and it changes on the next 5 pages because they're all connected. And don't get me wrong, it's taken him a while to learn that skill. But he goes, now, all he needs is anyone. So if one of his members of staff needs to spend that extra £20 on this thing, they just change on that sheet. It adjusts everything else. And then he goes, right, actually, okay, why is this being adjusted? Let's look at it. All right, well, we might need to shift that. Just watching it. And people say, know your numbers of your business or understand them. You don't have to know how to do it. Just understand them. That's all you need to do. You don't need to know why, what equals X squared. You don't need that bit. You just need to know what is X squared. So that's it. You just need to know actually what is it and go from that aspect.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it's really important to firstly understand the financial health of your business, but also your personal relationship to that as well. So, because a lot of business owners, we say, well, we don't have a budget for anything. Well, you do, because if you're making profit, then you have a budget, right? You need to think about it from the perspective of this is your personal budget and your professional budget, in most cases within one, right? Now, are you willing to make a personal sacrifice to gain professionally? That's up to you. But the question that I think leads on to that is how long or how do you know, right? Because obviously people have asked me this all the time about networking. Well, what stage does it tip over, or what stage does someone continue to do something because perceivably it's not working, but you can continue to do something and then suddenly it will work, right? With networking, for example, is a really easy one to explain. You'll meet someone, nothing, 4 jobs suddenly, right? But if you didn't, if you stopped, you would never have got the 4 jobs because, well, potentially you wouldn't have, right? So how do you personally, or how would you suggest people choose their timing to know when something isn't working?
Do you know what? It's such a, once again, amazing question. It goes back to what I just said, ROT, return on time. Look at it. If you feel like, okay, I've been doing this for 4 months now, the relationship I've built, based on networking once again, is the relationship I've built amazing? Yes. If I asked them to describe my business, could they describe it? Yes. Could I describe theirs? Yes. Right. Is this worth another 4 months? Yeah. ROT, your return on time. Have you taken that? What's the time you've spent in between getting to know one another? Have you chatted? You say it's 4 months. Have you only chatted 4 times? Well, one of you hasn't spent the time well enough to get to know to one another. So actually, is that great? Whereas me, I get to know everyone personally. I've got a guy that I'm chatting to at the minute. I only met him about 2 months ago. I know he's got a date this weekend. As of record, I know he's got a date. You don't need to go that personal, but the way I do it is, I'm looking at it now on the right-hand side of my wall behind me. People I want to keep in touch with because I'm very visual. I want to remember to talk to. They're on that wall. Every Monday, religiously, every Monday, I will go down that list. I'll just message each one. And the reason I do it on a Monday is, hi, how was your weekend? Simple as that. How was business last week? Simple as that. It's called traditionally a CRM, right? But people use CRMs for clients, customers, because it's customer relationship management. You can use it for your connections to stay in the repertoire of them. It's like, I want to, I'll tell you what, we'll catch up in a couple of weeks. You can book it there and then in your diary, or you can put it in your CRM or your spreadsheet or on the wall like me. and make sure that you don't forget it's there. You said you'll check in. That's how you start doing all these, and your return on time is better because you're managing it. You're actually going, this person I believe is worth my time. And like anyone in business, there's a cliche phrase that every business owner is doing, and I do not care if you say otherwise, we are winging it. We are winging it. And doing this, they're in a measurable scale of doing it. It's when people go, how long is a piece of string? Twice the size of half of it, right? That's how long a piece of string is. And you've got to go with your gut instinct to winging it. If you do little things like that, you pop them on the wall. Literally, there is a pink Post-it note and a bright black pen. I'm looking at it. It's there. There's 2, 4, 6, 7 people on there. At the moment, I want to keep in my peripheral vision. I want to see them. They're there. And I message them every Monday. How was your weekend? And they'll know they are. If they do listen to this, they'll know they are. They'll go, actually, you do message me every Monday. Yeah, because you're on my wall.
I mean, I think it brings up a really important point, and something that I validate. What are we doing from a marketing point of view, whether that's networking, content, blah, 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 advertising, etc. Where are we spending the money, but also where am I spending my time? And then how can I leverage it more? But the point I'm trying to make here is I think it really does open up a question of how much effort are you putting in to each thing, right? I'll use a networking group as an example, because people, I think, sometimes when they join a networking group, they go, right, okay, cool, I've done that, tick box. Great, fab. But are you showing up consistently? Are you connecting with enough people? Are you having the one-to-ones outside of the networking room? Are you trying to build a relationship? Are you trying to add value to those people? Right? Are you trying to say, hey, who can I connect you with? Hey, who in my network do you want to talk to? Hey, what's your issue? What's your hurdle? What's your pain point right now that I might be able to fix personally, or someone in my network might be able to fix, right? And something I realized very quickly was actually I was validating it, and the first question I always ask when I validate something is, am I putting enough time, energy, resources into X thing, right? Because otherwise, it's not a fair relation. It's not a fair thing that I'm judging, because I haven't given it all I can do. If I've given it all I can do and it still isn't working, okay, then let's have the conversation about maybe I shouldn't be part of that network, or maybe I shouldn't be going to this thing, or maybe doing this, whatever it is. And there's nothing against that network or that thing. It doesn't work for me. This specific sector of that thing doesn't work for me. That doesn't mean, like, for example, BNI doesn't work for me. I'm not saying BNI doesn't work for me. That's not the same. And I think it's really important, because especially when we start in business, something that I've actually been privy to for a while, not so much anymore, but something that I was privy to for a long time was, I get loads of ideas, I'm sure you do. It's like, hey, I'm going to do this, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But something that my coach really helped me with was actually, you need to just double down and triple down and really focus in on what are you good at, right? Because I've toyed around with the idea of, do we want to add some more marketing services into the business? Do I just want to keep doing video, blah, 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 blah? Because to an extent, I never want to plateau. And that's a good question to have, and it's a good thing to be aware of. But also you need to be aware of how your focus can shift. And, I think the question is, how do you know if you are passively? Because sometimes we'll do it without even knowing. And sometimes I think the value for me for having a coach is he can say to me, hey, you're going off track again, and pull me back onto the track that I'm meant to be on. I mean, have you found that with your clients as well? And if so, is it just an instinct thing? Like, how do you go about actually helping them understand that they're maybe going in a direction that may not be valuable at that time for their business?
Okay, so one of the things we do is you can do 30, 60, 90-day planning. So it's literally 3 months. Just what do you want to achieve in 30 days? How's that going to affect 60 days? So basically, you can actually do it backwards. What do you want to achieve by 90 days? What do you need to do within the next 60 days to do it? What do you need to do within the first 30? It's one of the ways of doing it, because then in the future, when they start going off path, go, look at what you was doing here to where you are now. You always need to keep some form of track or some form of where you've been, or roadmap, whatever you want to call it, just so you can just reference it. How was I doing there? People do it with the cash flow, with the sales. How do we do it with our progress? That's one of the things. You touched on a few points then, to the point I actually made notes, and about networking in particular. And you're completely right with networking. The networking meeting is 20% of the work. 20%. No matter how many times you go, you could do 6 meetings a week, every week, forever, right? That's 20% of the work. The 80% following, like you said, is the one-to-ones, the connecting, the relationship building. And there's a question I ask, and every time I have a one-to-one with someone, looking at my paper on my sheet, every single person I've had a one-to-one with today, and I've had 5 before this, right? I write 4 letters, HCIH. How can I help? And I ask the simple question. I think I might have even asked this to you in a one-to-one. I literally go, how can I help? People go, oh, I go, don't have to be business. Personal life right now, how can I help you? Oh, well, I'm trying to get my Facebook group built up. Okay, I'll go and join your Facebook group. Do you want me to give it a share? People don't really know. I'll go tell you what, then I'll do you a shout out on my LinkedIn that I've had a one-to-one. Oh, really? Yeah. And people go, oh, yeah, I hate this question. You shouldn't hate it. How can I help? I'm offering, how can I help? It doesn't have to be, I want a client that's getting this much. If that's what you want to ask me, ask me. That's not how can I help. This is what I want. How can I help you? Because when people go networking, I always say this, and people go, oh, I'm like, we are all there to sell. Not directly, fair enough. I'm not saying directly because you will not do well, but we're all there to sell. It's what we're there to promote our business, earn money, earn an income, grow it. It's what we're all there for, which is great. Who's there to buy? Right? No one. So there's only one way you can get us to do that, and it's literally sharing how you can help us. And it's what I say to doing your elevator pitch or your introduction. Tell me who you are, what you do, and how you can help me, because you will switch me from selling to buying because you have said how you can help. And it's one of the really important things. All these ideas and things as well, which I do get the same as you, I break down into 3 categories. And I have ADHD, so I think of loads of ideas, which is it a plan for now, a plan for then, or a plan for whenever? If it's a plan for whenever, it goes on my hypothetical shelf. And trust me, if it's a good idea, you won't forget it. If it's not a met idea, don't worry about forgetting it. You won't know anyway because you forgot it. Don't worry about it. But break it down. Is it a plan for now? So a plan for now is your IPAs, your income producing activities. Is this going to create income in one way? But that could be anything. Is it marketing? Is that marketing potentially going to create income? Is it a fast thing? Can I get it done? Is it just need doing? It's a plan for now. Get it done. It's done. Signing that client up, doing this, talking to that person, going to this event, whatever. Plans for then are just like, right, it's going to take a bit of time to do that. I might need to spend a few hours on it. It's not going to create immediate income. It's not even going to create slightly fast income. It's going to create a long-term income. That's a plan for then. Plan for whenever is launching possibly that new service, building that extension on your house, moving office. That's a plan for whenever. It's not urgent. I don't need to do that. Because then naturally, as things start getting done, the things out of whenever start coming into you then, and then they're coming to you now. Because you've done all the other stuff. They start naturally coming into it. And it's all them little things. But like I said, all them little methods as well is how you can get people to understand that they're going off the path, they're being the path that they're on, especially the plans for now, plans for them, plans for whenever. You go, look, you're doing this right. You're doing this right now. Is this a plan for now? Plan for then? Look, where are we? And it's really one of them things.
Yeah. I think that's a really important perspective. And just building off what you were discussing about how can I help others, I think it's about, and something that I've found is you have to go into it with a mindset of, I want to help this person and I don't expect anything back, right? And there's a caveat I'm going to add to that, which is if you continually do good, and this is my wholehearted belief, and you believe in karma will end up meaning you're okay, no matter what ends up happening, but it will do it in a way which you never expected it to happen. And it will always pay dividends when it's meant to pay, not when you need it to pay or want it to pay, right? And I think it's really important to go in with that perspective, because otherwise all you're doing is a transaction. You're saying, hey, I'm going to help you because then you're going to help me. That's, unfortunately, I don't believe anyway, the way it should work. And I don't think that's how you can be genuine and honest. And I've done a similar amount of one-to-ones with you today. And one of the first ones I had this morning was talking exactly about being authentic to who you are, because, whether that's how you dress, whether that's how you come across, whether you swear in content, whether that's you create content, whether that's you create written content, video content, audio content, or a combination of the above, all of those things will be suited to your personality or not, right? And I think it's about doing it and acting, and this podcast is a key example of it, because I launched it in lockdown. I didn't even worry about a name. I didn't even worry, which we'll get onto because I know you have an idea and I wanted to ask you about it. But I didn't even worry about what's the name of it, what's the goal of it. I just said, let's do it first and worry about everything else after the fact, because it isn't actually important. The name is a bit of fluff. As long as the core reason is there and then the action happens, everything else will come, right? How do you build an audience? By being consistent with your message, by being consistent with whatever it is you're going to produce, and then people will resonate with it, and it's going to take a huge amount of time. And that's the one thing about content, is it's long term, because you're building a community around what you're doing, but that isn't short term. You can't think short term with that. I mean, how did you, because I know you have a live show as well, how did you develop the mindset? Because I think there's a mindset change, right? Because when one starts with content, sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to do this piece of content, it's going to print me money, right? In theory, right? How did you build the mindset to be like, actually, no, it's not, or understand quite quickly that it's not? And then why do you continue to do it if it isn't going to be that income generating activity, as you mentioned previously?
Yeah, I was going to say, to be fair, like my live show, with you saying that, I've done that since November 2020. You know, I've done that from November 2020. I took a break at one point, and when everyone was quite busy with the world reopening and everything like that, you know, I struggled for guests because every episode has a guest on. To my knowledge, I've not made 1 penny from it. To my knowledge. That doesn't mean that people maybe haven't seen me and then connected to me and then had a one-to-one from that. To my knowledge, I've made no money from it. And the reason why is because of what the point of the show is. The point of the show is to showcase my network to my fellow network, a member from it, their skills, their story, whatever. And the guest chooses the conversation. And, you know, for me, I tap into their network doing it. You know, once again, it's not, like you're saying, a physical transaction in IPA. It's not an income producing activity, but on that ROT, that return on time, yeah, it's worth it. And I found it worth it because then every guest that I get on that show remembers me, no matter what, always remembers me because they're on my YouTube channel, the wherever. And that return on time, that investment in that person doing it. And I mean, I've had people there that I've met once. And I've gone, you'd be a great fit for my show. And they go, really? I go, yeah, I really like your vibe, I really like your energy. But come on it. Tuesday, just, you know, the week we're recording this, we was talking about sex at 9 o'clock in the morning. Because I was on there with a sex expert. She's a sex therapist for women and couples. And we was talking about sex at 9 o'clock. She went, oh, what about the watershed? I went, it's 9 p.m. somewhere. Like, just when they listen to it. And once again, it's just all them different things. And we had quite a lot of viewers on that one, like live, like because of, it was like, bloody hell, sex at 9 o'clock in the morning, what's going on? But like you're saying, it's that ROT, that return on time, and it's worth it. And the marketing that comes from it and so on and so on, you know, it's just a benefit in the long run because that's going to be there forever. Then people are always going to remember me. Then people are going to think of, because it's happened, going to think of other people to be guests on my show who I don't know, which is therefore still growing my network, which then is getting me to tap into their network and then tap into mine. And it's a spiral. It's just complete thing. Oh, you need to get on Kallum's show. If you want a bit more promo, go on, it's free. All right, okay. So like me at the moment, you know, I'm trying to get on a lot of podcasts. Why? Because then when people Google my name or Google your podcast, hopefully I'm going to come up. And if they Google my name, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my website, everything's going to come up. But then actually after it, it's going to be this list of podcasts that I've been on. And it goes, oh shit. Like, who is this kid? He's everywhere. And vice versa. Yeah. And so on and so on. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important point because we do some level of PR as well within some of our clients. And they always ask us, well, why are we doing this PR stuff? How does it relate to marketing? And the crux of marketing is attention, right? The principle of marketing is we want to gain attention on what we want to talk about. We're like, hey, hi, this is what we do. We're trying to get attention on that. For me, it's this conjoined thinking because people always ask me, well, how do I get clients? How do I grow? How are you going to help me get clients? And well, firstly, I'm never going to agree that I'm going to get you clients because that's up to you, right? Let's just make that really clear first, right? But I can give you the opportunity and I can teach you how I get clients and how I use what I use to get you clients. But it has to be you that does it because my strategy isn't going to work with you and vice versa. But the crux of it is very simple. You have a set of content, set of infrastructure, a set of things which constantly allows you to keep showing up. So, you know, we talk this about touch points and we say about touch points for a brand, right? So you might see me in the paper. Okay, cool. So that's a touch point. You might then see a video on YouTube. Okay, cool. That's another touch point. Then you might see me on Facebook, TikTok, blah, 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 so on until it builds to the point where, hold on, I've seen this name like 6 times. Who the F is this guy? I need to have a conversation with him to understand what the hell he does and why he's everywhere, right? And that's that at that point is the point where you suddenly become very intriguing for that person because they, for whatever reason, has consumed enough of your content to either get to know you as a person, which is a really interesting phenomenon, especially when we talk about video, where I've had one-to-one meetings with people who know me, I don't know them, so the entire one-to-one is about them and not about me because they don't need to know about me because they've consumed my content.
Exactly.
right?
It's like I'm sorry to introduce you. I'm now known as Callum. I'm now known as Callum of a K because I always introduce myself as Callum of a K because all my life I've had to go, yeah, that's Callum with a K. I've just always had to do it, and I've made it a thing. And just I'm the guy that goes in a gift shop and there's nothing got my name on it. It's really annoying. And I've had to do it to the point of one time with a client. I went into a meeting with them via Zoom. He was like, "Oh, can you jump on with us?" I went, "Yeah." This guy came out and went, "You're Callum with a K." And I went, yeah. He's like, I'm from Hull as well. Like, I've seen you on like LinkedIn for years. Like, I was like, all right, nice to meet you. Oh, like, I love your video. I've seen your content. And like you're saying, it's them touch points. And it really is that point with seeing it. And, it's, I've done this in networking. I've really done this in networking. It's very rare now for me probably to go into any open category network where I can just drop in and not know someone or someone not know me. That is very rare. In the UK, should I say, in the UK alone. I might go into might visit, like you said, B&I private one. No one will know me because they're a lot more recluse. They're very individual. But an open category network online, I could go to pretty much nearly any and I will know someone. Or they will know me because, like you're saying, all these different touch points and things that I come from. I have a magazine. I'm in the paper. I've been on podcasts. I'm a keynote speaker. I speak at universities. All I need to do is get in a university post. I don't know how many people have been following that university. And then they go, "Oh, I saw that you spoke at," I think I was at Cambridge the other week. I'm at Hull University on Friday. And people see me and them and they go, "Where have you come from?" Like everywhere. I'm everywhere. I'm like a bad rash, right? I'm everywhere.
And I think it's I think it's one of those things when we create content and we build brand where people will be following your content for years. And until the moment where they reach out to you, or until the moment they run into you, or till the moment that they really, really connected that one piece of content, you have no idea how many people are watching, right? Like, but all you can do is believe that that's going to happen and continue to do it consistently, because that's how the affiliation grows. That's how we call it a snowball effect, because as a snowball rolls down a hill, first you have to push it, but eventually you'll pick up so much snow that it just keeps going and then you can't stop it and it will squish anything in the way, right? But that's the point. Once you're there with marketing and once you're there with content, you start building that archive of stuff that's constantly like, hey, I'm Colton, I do this. Hey, I'm Colton, this is who I help. Hey, da da da. Then you're in a position where actually you could take your foot off the pedal a bit and it wouldn't really matter because you built all this momentum. You probably shouldn't completely, because that will slow you down again, because eventually it will come to a slowing unless you're continuing to push it. But it's that balance at that point. Once you've invested all this time, energy and resources into actually doing it, you have a stronger position to be able to pull back when you need to and if you need to.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And you know what, it's going on the car reference, it's take your foot off the gas and play with the clutch a bit. So you're still there. You're still there a bit. You still keep an eye on the gears. It's coming from a person that doesn't drive at the moment, but it's it is just take your foot off the gas. Don't go straight to the brakes. Play on the clutch, and keep that momentum going. That.
Yeah, and I think it's something which so many people underestimate about content, right? Because the problem with brand building, the problem with content specifically, is there's not a quick return on ROI. Right? You spend all this money, you put all this energy in, and then in 6 months, in a year, I found your, I'll use a blog example. It increases your SEO, which means you're higher in search, which in turn means people are then going to search for you. We had this a couple of weeks ago. Some clients came through to ask for inquiries and they said, hey, we would love to work with you. We found you on Google, but they found me on Google because I upped the website's rankings by stuff I did 6 months ago.
Yeah,
or 8 months ago.
Do you know what? I was talking about this yesterday because I'm trying to grow my YouTube at the moment. And I chatted to a guy yesterday I've become good friends with. He's got 60,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel, which is accomplished in about a year. Like, he said it's a fluke that he's done it. He's just done a really good job of it. And he said, oh, you're going to be doing blogs as well as everything else. I went, I'm going to say no at the moment. I said, but if I do, I won't be doing them. And he went, why? And this is the thing where a lot of new business, going back to obviously one of the original things he was asking for tips and tricks about, where they go wrong. And, things have to cost lots of money. But if I'm not very literate, I'm should I say I am, but I write how I speak, which helps in a relaxed kind of format. But for blogging, where you want it to affect your SEO, your ranking, and everything else, it doesn't help. So I just went, no, but I'll be hiring someone to do it. And I'll be getting 4 blogs a month. You know, I'll just get them to watch my video content, go and watch that for me. Take whatever you can from that and write me a blog to go with that. All right, okay. I know that's only going to cost me, which when you're starting out sounds like a lot of money, 100, 150 quid, roughly a month, which, yeah, when you're starting out, like I said, sounds like a lot of money. But once again, the ROI, the ROT, everything else in the long run. And a year is not long in business. You know, it's nearly April when we're recording this. It's nearly April. Literally feels like 2 weeks ago was in beginning of February. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. Because in business, your business is, you know, it's not by the calendar, it's by the client, it's by everything else, it's by the work, it's by the market, it's whatever you're working on at the time is what your year is determined by. It's not like when you're in school or university where you've got a schedule, you've got a routine, you've got a timetable, you know when the weekend's coming, you know what you're going at this time. It ain't like that. I remember when January's used to feel like it was 8 weeks long. Now January's, I wish were 8 weeks long. It's ridiculous.
I think it goes with the speed of your business and the amount of years you're in and the amount more you're trying to do, right? Because as you grow a business, surely the amount of ideas and the amount of things that you end up, I'm just talking myself here, the amount of quote unquote 4D chess you end up playing, because for me, I'm like, hey, if I do this now, then it's going to put us in a really strong position in 6 months. And this is how I kind of nearly undid myself like 2 months ago, because I was playing in 4D chess and I was focusing on 4D, like what's happening in 6 months and not worrying about what's happening right now, right? I got too far away thinking what's in the future and didn't have a safety net, right? And I was like, oh, okay, that was a bit close. But that's fine, because now I can realize, and it was quite a good like reality step that was like, hey, by the way, remember you're in now, you're not in June, right? You're not in like, it's Q3, right?
But where a lot of people can also need to look at that, like you're saying, you know, you was lucky, you kind of was like, oh, like stay back here a bit. Right, you're planning for 6 months. When you're going to do something like that, what's 6 months from there? Right, be realistic. You know, a lot of times in business, I do say be unrealistic, right? Like, come on, be unrealistic. What is this to you? Where is this going to be? Because if we get unrealistic, we can work actually backwards from that and make it realistic. But if you're planning for something like that, for instance, even in a month's time, right? If you do this and it'll pay off and it'll be done for in a month, where's the month after that? What's 2 months from that? Is it still going to be relevant? Is it still going to be needed? Is it going to be the next tier of that? You know, anyone that gets referencing to gaming, it's like, look at Pokemon, you know, like you've got this, it's evolved. What's the next evolution from that? Where's it going to go from there? And it's looking at them extra steps. My clients always say I'm 3 steps ahead. And I go, because someone has to be. You know, I'm not working 3 steps ahead of you. I'm looking, observing, planning, deconstructing, decompartmentalizing, reconstructing it, super gluing it back together. You know, I'm doing it with Play-Doh. However, which analogy you want to go with, I've looked at that bit and I've broken it down and gone, is what I'm going to do in that time span still going to be relevant then because of then? Because actually, probably not. You know, a lot of the time, some of it will be, but the amount of work and effort you're going to put into the full 100% of it, only 25% of it, you're only going to need that following 6 months' time. And that's understanding that aspect before, once again, the ROI, the ROT, that everything else that goes into it. I was talking the other day, without massively going on a tangent, about how a lot of people in business think everything's just an equation. I think everything's just a maths equation, you know, and they do this in life. You know, people in life, when you're a business owner, for example, oh, I'm really tired and worn out, but I'm going to go to the gym and that'll make me feel better. Right. If you do that, you're going to be even more tired. And you're going to do, it's not a maths equation. I'm really tired and worn out. Why am I not? Let's put some brackets in there. You know, let's break it down. What's this? What's the actual root of that? If you want to keep it on that analogy, right? The root of me being tired is because of X, Y, and Z, literally. And it's looking at all them different things. And business and life is not a maths equation. You know, don't get me wrong, some scientists probably goes, actually it is. But for people that don't break it down to that, it's not as simple as an equation. You know, in business, yeah, 1 + 1 = 2. But what is 2? What is 1 + 1? You know, you need to really look at them different things.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I think, you know, we're talking about a lot about goal setting here and a lot about, you know, how do you grow to a point, right? But I think sometimes we have safe goals, and the reason why I don't like safe goals is because firstly they're not like ridiculous enough so you're always driven to pursue them, but also people misunderstand when I say that, right? Because as I think the first conversation we had, I told you the vision for the company, and it was actually surprising because you didn't do the most common reaction, which was, that's ridiculous. right? And for those who don't know, my vision for the company, I've said it multiple times, I'll say it again now, is to grow the biggest media company in the world. Now, whether I will achieve that doesn't matter. The vision is there, and that's what gives me the drive every day. But the key is to change the relationship to whether I achieve it or not. I'm not going to get disheartened if I never achieve that goal. The principle is to have a goal so ridiculously far away that every day I'm driven to move something forward. Because what if I get 50%? That would mean would be the largest in the UK. Okay, that's still pretty good, right? You don't always have to, and it's the same with like financial, it's the same with anything. It's always down to changing your emotional attachment to it, personally, from a psychological point of view. Because if you're like, oh, I didn't hit X figure this quarter, firstly, what happened this quarter that stops you from doing that? There's some stuff out of your control, I imagine, right? But also, why do you think that that's the end of the world?
You know, look, how do I say it? Someone went to me, you know, for example, like, oh, I only got 99. All right, 99's better than 98. Yeah, it's not as good as 100. It's exactly what you're saying. Oh, I got 100. That's great. That's better than 99. Ain't as good as 101. You know, once again, it's that kind of realization. It's like, but you know, depending on how you look at things, you know, just take in what you've got, just taking that bit. And I was talking to a guy earlier today about this, and you know, he's quite a young guy starting in business, and like most people starting in business, thinking of the money aspect. And I went, there's 3 things you need to look at. I said, but you need to be realistic with this. How much are you earning now? How much do you need to earn? And how much do you want to earn? But for now, while you're in this early stage, be realistic. Once you get to what you need and you are at the level you need, then you've got the next level of what I want and then what I actually really want. Then you can get unrealistic. But right now you just need to work on that little bit. Then we can get unrealistic. You know, all right, I want to earn 45k. Also unrealistic. Well, I want to earn 250k a month. Right, that's great. Now you've got what you need. We can go to that bit. And sometimes it is just about keeping your feet on the ground a bit, just until you just get going, just get that momentum. Like you're saying, that on the clutch, on the gas, off on. Once you got to that bit going, then it is doing it. And it ain't fully about goal setting. It is just looking at and understanding and taking in where you are now, you know, where you was. One of the analogies I always give is if you imagine 3 people in a row, there's a guy at the front where the guy in the middle wishes he was him. There's the guy at the back that wishes he was the guy in the middle. And, you know, oh, I wish where he was. Why? I wish I was where he was. Yeah, but right now I'm not even where you are. You know, but then there'll be someone behind that person going, oh, I wish I was there where they were. And then that middle guy is now the 3rd guy in the row. It just starts going like that. And you've got to start looking at it that way.
Yeah, and I think, I don't think people necessarily understand, and I'm conscious of time, so I think let's wrap up soon. But, you know, I think that some people don't understand the compounding effect of 1% growth every day, right? And I think so many people are worried about, oh, I've only grown 1% this week. Okay, but if you do that consistently for a year, you've just compounded the effect. Instead of growing maybe 50% across a quarter, you've suddenly just grown 300 or 400% across a quarter, right? Because you're compounding, and that's where the consistency matters in growth, more than just, I'm going to grow, I'm going to stop. I'm going to grow, I'm going to stop. I'm going to grow, I'm going to stop. So personally, I'd rather take a step backwards once to then take 3 steps forward and continue to take those steps forward. And that's, again, something like just building off what I've just come out of, the recovery period of that. That's fine, because that was, as I say, a very humbling experience, and something which was like, actually, because if I hadn't had that, I would have been continually going 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, right? And now I'm like, okay, this month, 3 months, 6 months. This month, 3 months, 6 months. This month, 3, and so on, to make sure that I'm still allocating the resources that I have correctly, and then always validating those. So I'm a lot more tactical in how I use my money, time, or resources now because of that experience. I'm still growing, and I'm still growing. Maybe I'm growing at a lesser extent, but it's going to be more sustainable now because I know what I need to do, and I know what can happen when I do sometimes over push. But I have to be able to take those risks to know and learn from them, right? Because I think so many people don't take the risks because they feel like they're comfortable, right? And for me, the one thing which is the only thing you should be comfortable in, and this is really cliche, is being discomfortable or being not comfortable with a situation, because then you're constantly pushing yourself. You know, for me, I was like, what do I need to personally get to? And just for the viewers' sake, the one thing I think they should take from the podcast, if they're going to take anything, is understand it's you versus you, firstly, but then secondly, understand that as long as you are making progress that's relevant to you, then completely. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right?
Completely, yeah.
Because otherwise you're in this kind of lane of, oh my God, they're doing amazingly. Oh my God, Colton's doing amazingly. Oh my God, such and such is doing amazingly. How can I possibly ever get to where they are? And you end up tripping yourself up before you even started. But, you know, something I would love to end the podcast with, and something that I found really valuable, because I'm sure you may have it, but if you don't, let me know. That's fine. Do you have a question or anything you want to ask me? Because when I've been interviewed by certain people as well, I have a burning question in my head, and it's really, sometimes I find it really irritating when an interviewer doesn't give me the opportunity to kind of do that role reversal. So do you have anything?
Ooh, bit on the spot there. I don't know. Because any questions I've had, I feel like we've answered and we've spoken about. Like, that's show of a good podcast, show of a good interview. Yeah, it's really one of them things. It's tell you what, I'll ask you my most cliche question, which has got nothing to do with your business. It's what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Short and sweet, but it in everything you do in life, it's the best thing to be. Whether that's growth of a business, whether that's working out, whether that's etc. Consistency and patience is the two aspects or two attributes that you need to attract more of, because we're in a society so much because of Instagram, social media, etc., where we get dopamine hits really quickly, right? It's like, I put a post up, oh my God, it exploded and got likes. Great. My brain's like, yay, yay. But the problem with that is nothing meaningful can come from short-term gain, right? Everything meaningful in your life comes from a long-term level of sacrifice, but also being patient with that thing and trusting in the process that you have, right? And if you don't have a process yet, that's fine. Be patient to build it. So then you can be patient to have it, to then be patient to then gain from it, right? You'll find things that work for you, hold on to those and start bolting other stuff onto them, right? From what I've found, that's what's been the best to grow the business, right? Like, why do I do a podcast? Same reason with you. Have I technically got anything back from it from a monetary point of view? Probably not. But have I gained a lot of insight? Have I been able to arguably punch above my weight in respect to actually interviewing guests and people who otherwise I wouldn't be able to talk to and pick their brain? Yes, absolutely. Have I been able to, as you say, the more networking point of view, where I post a piece and then it goes out to the network, and who does that then allow me to get my face in front of, etc. There's so many of these other untangible, in theory, things that happen from having this piece of content, for example. But where, if people are interested in continuing this conversation outside of this podcast, where can people do that? Where can they create, see your content? Where can they reach out for one-to-ones? Where they can reach out? Where's best to do that?
Literally Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, just search Kallum with a K. I come up. Especially Instagram, YouTube. It is literally Kallum with a K. You can find me everywhere, and I'm sure they can message you and get you to send them my way.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode, ladies and gents. I hope you took value from this episode. If you would like to hear how video can help your business in 2022, then make sure to find my information somewhere around this video. And I will see you with some new content very, very soon.